Okay, so May, right? Coming up
Yeah.
soon. And it got me thinking, with the 80th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, it really makes you think about those places like right here in our communities that hold, so much history.
Yeah.
Like if you're in Whitby, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 112 Hall, you know that one, right? On Byron Street South. It's got to be one of those places.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's incredible how often we just walk by buildings without even, thinking about the stories they could tell, if those walls could talk. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing in this deep dive, really digging into the history of that hall. We're going back like 80 years.
Yeah.
And we've got some pretty fascinating source material to work with too about its beginnings and how it's evolved over time.
Right. Like we're talking going from like its very beginnings all the way to today. I mean, how did it become such a fixture in Whitby, not just for veterans returning home, which we're going to be talking a lot about today, but for the whole community? So where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, like a lot of these stories, the beginning actually predates the building itself. It goes back to the fall of 1927. That's when the Whitby Great War Veterans Club was established. A guy named Robert McNee, he was the first president.
Wow. So even before, the Second World War was even on the horizon, you had the veterans from World War One already organizing and coming together. Like
Yeah.
they recognized the need for that kind of support and connection even then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting. They found support really early on. Starting in February 1928, they were given rent-free use of a space. It was the third floor above Allen's drugstore. It was at Brock and Dundas, like right in the heart of things.
Wow, right in the thick of it. Talk about a prime location.
Yeah.
So Arthur Allen, the druggist, that's a pretty significant act of community support. It says a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that tells us about those times?
I mean, it really shows you how much people cared, right? Recognized the sacrifices these veterans had made, and they wanted to do something, tangible, something real to support them. Allen giving them that space, it wasn't just about a roof over their heads. It was about belonging, Like,
Yeah.
you're welcome here.
Right? Yeah, that sense of community. It's remarkable, too, that those veterans, I mean, World War One, think about what they had lived through, but they were already thinking ahead to those who would serve in the next war. That's pretty incredible.
Right.
So they had a place to gather, but at some point they decided to put down roots, like literally.
Uh-huh.
They needed land, right?
Yeah. And they actually secured it during the war. February 22nd, 1943, they bought the site on Byron Street South. It was from the estate of Albert W. Richardson, and it only cost them $400. I mean, during the war, that's a real commitment to building a future,
Yeah.
a place of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. The place to call home. It's like almost planting a seed of hope, right?
Right.
But I imagine trying to get permission to build, like in the middle of wartime, must have been a bit of a headache. Our sources kind of hint at some red tape.
Oh, yeah, more than a bit. They had a real struggle to get a building permit. It was 1943 from Ottawa. I mean, they even went on a trip to Toronto, a whole delegation from the Whitby Legion. They visited 4 government offices in one day trying to just get the application forms, and they came back empty-handed. It's just, it's amazing how much they had to push,
You can almost feel the frustration, right? Like the need is so obvious, but bureaucracy is bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But it sounds like the community really came together.
Oh, yeah. Frank Threadgold, he was the chairman of the building committee, and he really got people on board. By January 1944, so just months after all that permit trouble, they had $2,000 raised. Just citizens and organizations. Like, that's huge, Shows how much people value the veterans in Whitby.
And it wasn't just money, right? The sources really emphasized the amount of, like, labor, like actual hands-on building that was done by volunteers. That's a different level of commitment, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, this wasn't just a construction project. It was like a community effort. Men, women, probably a lot of veterans themselves, or their families, putting in the work, like building this place with their own hands. That creates a bond, a sense of ownership. Like, we built this. What do you think about that? Like, that level of community involvement.
I don't know, it makes you think about how different things were then, like that sense of community. It was different.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about having the building. It was about making it happen together. And think about the timing. Like they opened the doors in April 1945, just as the war in Europe is ending. Talk about a moment.
Oh, man, yeah. The sources say it was probably a small ceremony sometime around April 11th or 12th, 1945. It's a shame the archives from the Oshawa Times, the local paper, they got destroyed in a fire. We could have had more details. But you can imagine, right? Like, The war ending, this new space opening, a place of support, community. It must felt like a new beginning, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a new beginning, a place to heal and rebuild. And we can't forget Arthur Allen, the jettist. That early support, it didn't stop there, did it?
Oh, no, not at all. Even after he passed away in March 1945, he left $5,000 in his will, specifically to pay off the debt on the hall. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something else. But it really shows how much he believed in what they were doing. There's a memorial plaque for him there, too, a permanent reminder of his generosity.
So they've got the hall, the war is over, but things don't just stand still, do they? Like the community, the needs of the veterans, they change, right?
Yeah.
How did the hall keep up with that?
Well, almost immediately they realized, they needed a kitchen, especially for events like Remembrance Day, serving meals, all that. It was a pretty basic thing to be missing.
Yeah, kind of essential if you think about it, but they fixed it.
Yeah, they did. In 1949, they added on to the north side of the hall.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just a kitchen, they added a sitting room, a library, even a billiard room. Like they really turned it into a place to spend time.
Yeah.
More than just meetings.
Right, a real social hub.
Mhm.
And this is when they added the first cornerstone, right? What's the significance of a cornerstone for those who might not know?
Oh, yeah, good point. A cornerstone is like a ceremonial stone. They put it in a prominent place in the foundation, and it often has inscriptions or even items inside that kind of commemorate the building, like when it was built, what it's for. It's kind of a symbolic foundation. This one, the one from 1949, it's got the dates 1945 and 1949 on it. Tying it all together. And the Stafford brothers, Charles and Ernest, they donated it. They had a Monument Works business here in Whitby. Still going strong today, actually.
Wow, that's a cool connection. So they had this expansion and then they had a big official opening, right? Like a grand opening kind of thing.
Yeah, they did. March 3, 1950. And get this. The Premier of Ontario, Leslie Frost, he was the one who officially opened it. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, the Premier himself, what does that say to you about how important the Legion was?
It's a statement, right? Like recognizing veterans, the support they needed, the Legion, it was a big part of that. And all this was happening, what, like 5 years after the war ended? It's amazing. But the hall, it doesn't stop growing there, right? It's like this living thing, constantly evolving.
You got it. The sources talk about two more big additions. So first, in 1955, they added 20 feet onto the back. They needed a bigger stage, which makes sense, right? For events, dances, all that. And more space downstairs for the club, where members could hang out.
Right, so they're improving both the public spaces and the members-only areas.
Mm-hmm.
And then a while later, a much bigger change, right?
Yeah, in 1982, they added on to the south side. And here's the thing. They made it an exact copy of the 1949 edition.
Yeah.
Same materials, everything. It's like they wanted to keep that architectural flow, that connection to the past, like respecting the original design.
It's almost like they're echoing their own history. And this edition, it gets a cornerstone too, right? Continuing the tradition.
Yeah, August 1982. This time it was Bob Adams, the branch president, Henry Perry, the zone commander, Earl Ormiston, the first vice president, and John MacIver. He was the building committee chair. Quite the group. Like those cornerstones, they're like bookmarks in time.
Yeah, exactly. So from meeting above a drugstore to all these expansions, I mean, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 112 Hall, it's been through a lot. It really shows you how things change, how they adapted, kept up with the times. And it all ties back to that date we were talking about, right? VE Day.
Absolutely. Whitby's going to be celebrating the 80th anniversary of VE Day, May 7th, and it's also the 80th anniversary of their Legion Hall. Like, you can't separate the two, ending a world war and then building this space for those who served. It's powerful.
It's like the hall itself was born from the war. And it's still there, still a big part of Whitby. It's more than just a building at this point. It's like a living tribute to the sacrifices made and the community that supported them.
It really makes you think about the bigger picture, too, right? Like, all across Canada after both world wars, these Legion halls, they became so important for veterans, for finding that sense of community, for support, for belonging again. And Whitby's story, it's like a microcosm of that. All those phases of growth, reaching out to the community. There's so many halls out there with similar stories.
So we've gone from the very beginning to today, 80 years. The Royal Canadian Legion Branch 112 Hall. It's a testament to, well, everything we've been talking about. The World War I veterans who had that vision, people like Arthur Allen, the community that stepped up to build it, everyone who served. It's a lot to take in.
And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about community, about the impact of these places that we might just take for granted. The work those early members put in, it's had an effect on so many people in Whitby. It makes you wonder, like, what does it take to create something like that and keep it going for so long?
It really does. And as we remember VE Day and the Hall's anniversary, think about this. How many other buildings are out there, just ordinary looking places, that have stories like this? Hidden histories waiting to be uncovered. Maybe our next deep dive will be into one of those.